Namaste, Jai Hind, and welcome to this edition of The Right Stand. I'm Anand Narasimhan. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we pick up an issue which matters to you and me, and also the coming generations. Have you heard of Chatgpt? OpenAI. Phenomenal. You ask it a question and it'll give you answers. It doesn't stop there. You ask it anything, it will search the entire internet and give you options. You want it in 100 words, it will give you that. You want it in 200 words, it will give you that. If you want it in 300 words, it will give you that. So much so that you need to write an essay and you tell the AI, this is what I want, and I want an essay in 100 words for this, 200 words for this, 300 words, it will give you that. Will you just copy paste that and put it? Is that making us smarter? Is that making us dumber? Is that going to make human resource redundant going forward? Plenty of questions, ladies and gentlemen. It's phenomenal technology, but that's the case with technology. It always comes, it's a double-edged sword. It'll always have its goods and it'll always have its bad. Boon, bane, or is it for humanity to decide? Is it for policy makers to decide? Is it for the ever-evolving artificial intelligence technology and the people behind this, for them to decide? But again, artificial intelligence is coded, it's designed to evolve on its own. So at what level does it stop? Do you agree that school children should not get access to it? Would you agree that government should not get access to it? Would you agree that journalists should not get access to it? There are many different questions. Do we really need journalists in future, writers in future, thinkers in future, if you've got artificial intelligence to do it all? Then, if that happens, ladies and gentlemen, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 years down the line, will we be smarter or will we be dumber? Plenty of questions, isn't it? Let's try and understand the pros and cons of Chatgpt. Is it the need of the hour? Do we need this tech? Or is this tech inevitable? Those who have accepted it and who understand it, do you need to have a certain level of maturity before you get access to it? Are you okay with our children doing their homework using Chatgpt? Are you okay? Are teachers okay with them accessing this to write their exams, to complete their projects and dissertations? It's got many, many dimensions. Would you not want something which is OpenAI or an AI like this to explain to you our history, our culture, the relationship of every human being with the other, what the technologies of the world are, cultures of the world are, places of the world are? Is that not going to expand the scope of knowledge? Will we need books if we now have Chatgpt? Plenty of questions there, ladies and gentlemen. That's why I said, let's take it up. Let's try and understand. Let's put some thought, test it. In India, right now, it's banned. It's banned in some schools, colleges. In America, it's banned in schools. In China, not directly available. In Afghanistan, totally banned. Should you ban tech? Should you regulate tech? Or should you understand it and see how it evolves? Now, there is another challenge, ladies and gentlemen. Jobs could become redundant. ResumeBuilder.com in its survey covered 1,000 US businesses, and it found that 49% of the companies currently are using Chatgpt, while 30% are planning to do so. It also found that 48% of the companies using Chatgpt said they have replaced the workers. Woo! While 25% of the companies revealed that after using the AI chatbot, they have already saved more than $75,000. The survey, which was conducted in February, showed that the companies are mostly using the AI chatbot for writing code, copywriting, customer support, and others. So, let's take it into the another realm. Chatgpt in educational institutions. What are the pros and what are the cons? Saves time with quick answers. Students could rely heavily on it. Their own thinking capacity. What will happen? There's a computer between these 2 ears, isn't it? So are you going to make that redundant? It's got a different processor and different technique altogether. Can adapt to the learner's style. can limit the student's creativity. Two arguments, ladies and gentlemen, both sides of the coin. Enhance learning. Can check preparedness with quizzes. It can help you prepare. It can help you. It can become a tool to aid you. But could also learn limiting experience. Because people would say, you just give me the answer, I don't need to bother. A robotic chatbot. There's no human quotient in it. There's no EQ in it. So do you need to have that EQ or not? And of course, if you want further clarification, you want that touch of a guru. Can Chatgpt or AI, OpenAI, replace the guru? It can work as a guide, explanations, solutions to problems, subject-wise issues. It can open your sphere of knowledge. But it's tech dependent. That means if there are technical difficulties, it may not be available always. So if it is not available always, then what happens to those who have started leaning on it too much? Will they have lost their ability to do it themselves? Can work as a facilitator in scientific experiments, and of course, limited knowledge can only provide the knowledge that it is trained with or it can access. It can also frustrate students with repetitive, blank, incorrect answers. You can also fool Chatgpt. But can you fool your teacher? Chatgpt at the workplace. Now, again, let's look at the comparisons. It increases the demand for self-service. It's affecting the job market. So these are the for and against positions as far as Chatgpt is concerned. It's a revolutionary technology. People are saying, wow, it's phenomenal. Those who have learned to use it ably are saying, this is phenomenal tech. But there are others who are saying, what about jobs? Anyways, we are worried about unemployment. It will displace low-skilled jobs, clerical work. All of that will go away. Kapoosh. Availability and more engagement. Securing data, malware, threat, it's going to be a reality. And of course, what kind of information is this AI source going to pull and then produce before you? It can doctor its and tailor its output based on what you search for, how you search for, because it will learn. It will adapt itself to each user. That's ability it has. Availability and more engagement, and of course, it increases productivity and efficiency is one aspect. From an organizational point of view, it reduces your headcount, increases your output. There are organizations that are saving money, but it cannot learn to think outside the box. Can it think outside the box? Can it outthink the human mind? The EQ aspect. Less human error, unbiased, 24/7 it is available. Is it really? If there is a crash, what happens? Inability to understand emotions. This lack of EQ is the big question. Ladies and gentlemen, what we've tried to do is get two people on perhaps either side of the spectrum, but both of whom who have sampled Chatgpt and who are putting this tool to use, or they believe this is nothing but abuse. Amritanshu Pandey, strategy head, Brihat Works, is with us, and so is Kanish Gaur, cyber security expert. Namaste, gentlemen. This is not a fight. Namaste. It's just trying to open the spheres of our thought processes. And we are all entitled to have our own views because this tech is still evolving. Even as we say it's Chatgpt 4, tomorrow we'll wake up, it'll be 5 and it'll be 6. You never know because they're still evolving and this tech is also learning. That's what we're given to understand. But let me ask you, Amritanshu. You work in the education space. Have you sampled Chatgpt and what's your thinking about it?
Namaste, Anandji. Yes,
Namaste.
Thank you. I have sampled Chatgpt and in fact, I've been using it quite extensively. You've touched upon all the variables that we need to think about. There is certainly a lot of reason to be optimistic and excited. So you mentioned how those who are using it extensively are coming back with great reports. So there is a great element of someone who has a technical use case and questions that they need answers to. So if they know what they're asking, they're able to use it in a very good manner. But of course, there are risk areas to think of. So it isn't 100% accurate. There is a whole phenomenon being talked of hallucination, that GPT models are prone to hallucination. They may make up answers. So one has to be careful. As we've always said in Hindi that nakal ke liye bhi akal chahiye.
Akal chahiye.
So that element, of course, So that element, of course, remains. In education space, I think the primary concern we can first talk of is how do our children engage with it, right? And how our children engage with emerging technology has always been a concern. The more exponential technology gets, the more exponential those concerns will fairly be. So let us not try to dismiss them and let us not try to downplay them. For autodidacts, for people who are looking for information or guidance on technical matters, there is great potential here. But absolutely, there is no reason why we would want our children to, let us say, learn about Indian history or learn about culture, as you said, to what is, GPT, it stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer. So a pre-trained model obviously is trained on specific data. It will reflect specific biases that will be more sharp in cultural areas, soft science areas. So there doesn't seem to be a reason why we would want to rely on it for our children going to it directly in that manner. But pre-trained also means you can build your own models. So for pedagogues, for large institutions, the data and documentation that they need these days in multivariate streams across different education levels, will they be able to utilize this to create their own models trained on their chosen documents, specific streams, narrow streams? Absolutely. So as any digital technology, it has a lot of exponential benefit that can be unlocked for various kinds of use cases. But at every step of the way, one has to be careful. And as you said, that one has to know what they're doing. And that has always been true from the days of the fire and the chariot, of course. So, yeah.
You've laid out the opening argument phenomenally, but are there more reasons to worry than celebrate? Kanishk Kaur, where do you stand, being a cyber expert, the ability of AI and a product or a system like Chatgpt?
Anand, thank you for inviting me. Obviously, there are a lot of reasons to worry. If you try writing codes for hacking softwares, for hacking systems, instead of writing them manually, you could use Chatgpt and launch new kinds of malwares, new kinds of trojans, new kinds of viruses, and automate all of those. Now, if you've got people who are cyber criminals, this is actually a big win for them. They can use this for manipulating and creating cybercrime. This could also be used for information warfare. So if for Anand Narasimhan, I put out a lot of information on the internet, which could be fake and misleading, Chatgpt can pull up all of that information and create a model which could be completely different from what Anand is today. Now, that's a huge risk to anyone who is a public figure or any individual. So that's a big issue with Chatgpt. The other concerns with Chatgpt is that its information is outdated till 2021. So for any analysis, any aspects where you're using Chatgpt, a lot of outcomes could be misleading. Chatgpt could also bring out biases based on the data that you feed. So if you try using Chatgpt and you put information, a lot of time the analysis which Chatgpt gives is not the correct argument. It is purely based on the data that is fed to Chatgpt, and it does use AI.
But you as a cyber expert can understand. Amritanshu as somebody who's learned, who understands and who's in the education space, who understands tech and can figure out these answers are a little bumcum and they're all over the place. So, but a 10-year-old, 15-year-old, 20-year-old, will they have the ability to discern that? That's one point. The counter argument is, if you're saying that Chatgpt can be misused, well, 70% plus of the internet is dark web. But people are still using internet.
They are using internet, but obviously you will have to bring ethics. You will have to draw lines how you disallow misuse of Chatgpt. Any new technology could be far exciting, but you have to curb the misuse. You have to curb where it could be weaponized. So weaponizing of AI is a big threat, right? And this has to be tackled right now. You can't wait for another 6 months or 9 months. We are bringing out data protection bill. We are looking at data protection and privacy as a key element. So can Chatgpt invade into your and my privacy? Those are concerns that need to be addressed.
See, I tell you, you are looking at it, you are looking at weaponizing from a criminal aspect or a deviant mind. But I am also looking at it from an impressionable mind. Amritanshu, where do you stand on this? Would you want 10 standard students, engineering students to be writing their dissertations, PhD people, students look at Chatgpt to complete their thesis? Do you think that's an enabler, or is it something which is perhaps going to devalue and also dumb down the intellectual capacity
These
of
are absolutely
generations?
valid question. Absolutely valid question. Look, there was a time when we used to remember all the phone numbers in our head, right? We used to, and then we moved to writing them down on the diaries. Today, we don't remember even our closest people's phone numbers. They're all on the phone. So, of course, we are offloading a lot of mental load, and that can have a opposite consequence of dumbing down, as you put it. Unsupervised with the most dangerous and cutting edge technologies, do we want young people engaging? No, that is a concern. Should we have bans and stuff? I don't know. That may be a separate question. I am not too sure on that. But what we can do is, if we are vigilant, we can at least ask for and receive controls that mitigate some of this. Not all of it. A lot of the attack vectors that are talked about are absolutely valid. But Chatgpt, for one, is just one of these many models. That is important to keep in mind. So we can have our own trained NLP models fed on data that we choose. So you can build your own biased model as well, if you like. Number two, Chatgpt, for example, has either already or is about to put in a cryptographic watermark in all the code that will be generated, which would allow systems to know that this body of text is generated by an NLP model. So plagiarism check we used to have at one point of time.
Yes.
There are those similar controls being built at this level. You have two image generation tools these days being talked of, Midjourney and Stable Diffusion being the other big one. Now in Midjourney, you cannot input words related to blood, to gore, to pornographic imagery. You cannot use it to generate those images. If you try to countervent it, you might even get banned. Stable Diffusion, on the other hand, you can build your own open source model and do whatever you want with it. So whether we should use our power as consumers and with our wallets to kind of vote here, with which is because he mentioned ethics, and absolutely valid. So is Midjourney kind of ethics what we want to reinforce, or the uncontrolled, untrammeled ethics? Absolutely valid issues, but certainly at what level the concerns of a nation, a sovereign nation, with regards to, let us say, digital attack vectors on AI is one box of concerns. But a teacher, a young student who today, while doing geometry, just needs that one question, array wo trigonometric angle ka answer, should they be allowed to use it? I mean, absolutely. There are there's a surface level of a lot of harmless, innocuous usage that people can do to develop themselves, to get answers, to solve basic things in life. And as I said, at institutional levels in education, we can use this to also offset the biases, right? So if today ChatGPT shows very obvious biases in terms of its knowledge or commentary on the Western world versus on the rest of the world, and on India, on Indian culture, on Hinduism, you can build your own NLP models fed exclusively on interpretations of Hindu scripture, for example, by Hindu tradition, and not feed it at all, Indology and Western takes on it. And then you can start actually playing in this field as a participative player, as a player with authority.
But then what you're looking at is that sector-specific, segment-specific
it would have to be
AI source, not an open AI source. My concern is it valid, Kanishk Kaur, when you're saying that if it's an open AI source, if the makers of ChatGPT, in this case it's Microsoft, and there will be others who now bring other platforms which would be AI driven, if they start putting limiters that it will be sector specific. So if I'm going to get an AI source in the education domain, it's not going to give you answers to subjects beyond a particular domain. Is it possible to do that? And then it evolves seamlessly or infinitesimally in that particular domain. Is that possible?
I don't think so. That's possible. When you're using open source AI, it's going to use various open source intelligence, and it's going to pick up information which could be video, text, and images. Now, what is going to happen is it is going to combine and use some of its model to interpret. You want it to go sector wise? I don't think so. That's going to be a possibility. The key concern here is going to be that the sources from where it is picking data, are those really the truthful sources? Are they giving the correct feed? That is something which AI will have to build up, right? So that's going to be one of the key concerns, that if it picks up information from a fake or misleading website or a database, or if it picks up information from dark web, right? Which could be really harmful.
Yes.
So how do you prevent that from happening? Those are my bigger concerns here.
Is that possible to do? Final word, Amritanshu?
I mean, these dangers are valid dangers, but walled garden AIs are certainly possible. But I mean, this is a territory where we would get into other ethics as well. Do we want code like this to be open source, transparent, shareable, accessible to everyone? Or do we want it to become more obscure and fenced out? And, then only Microsoft Teams will have, Math GPT 5.2. I don't know which direction we want to go. In either direction, the concerns of AI leakage, of technology running rampant will remain true. So the vigilance we would need to have, the eye for ethics that we would need to have would remain true. Whether or not and how much we participate in this seemingly unstoppable forward march and to what degree of productivity and our own benefit, that I think is in our hands.
Okay, final word. Let me quickly, so boon or bane, which way are you leaning to, Kanishk Kaur? Right now,
I think
as of now,
it's both boon and a bane. The boundaries will have to be drawn to prevent abuse, which could be racial, which could be discriminatory, which could be fake, misleading, or which could be weaponizing AI.
Okay, let me say more
Those
boon,
are
less
limits
bane,
that have
or
to be
more less boon, more bane. Kanishk,
Less, more bane.
more bane, less boon, more bane. Where are you, Amritanshu?
Oh, I mean, it's the fire that Prometheus stole from the gods, but we are thankful he stole it, right? So it's a bane. A boon, sorry.
So it's a boon. So you're saying it's a boon. I'm just going to wind up. Thank you. Great conversation, gentlemen, and let's just hope it evolves towards becoming tech that aids humanity. Somebody recently just asked me this question: what's 22 plus 22 plus 24? Can you do it in your head? Do you need a calculator, or are you asking Google Voice or Chatgpt? So then, are you evolving or are you dumbing it down? Or are you becoming dumber? I'll leave it at that. Thank you very much. Let's move on, gentlemen. Let's move on.